Hello, welcome to Ivan Minis. Now, you may have seen in one of my previous videos, I did an unboxing of the Against the Ogre Horde quest pack from Avalon Hill for the new revamped Heroquest. It's a really cool box. It's got some interesting things in there, an arena to fight in and some different bits and pieces going on, and ogres, as the name suggests, including these three particularly big and mean looking ogres. The models are pretty good, really. I mean, I've had a bit of an issue with some of the models in the Heroquest boxes, but these ones are fairly strong and not too flexible. Quite nice detail. They're pretty cool. But I couldn't resist having a look at some alternatives because there's a lot of nice ogre models out there. Maybe I can find something that will suit me better, and that's the whole point of this series of videos, really, 3D printing alternative models to customize my Heroquest set. So here they are on my playmat from Deepcut Studios, and yeah, they're huge. So these models, they take up 2 squares each on essentially the same size as cavalry bases from old school Warhammer, 25 by 50 millimeters. They're quite sort of thin, sort of front to back, because they have to be able to fit in the smaller squares. But their arms do stick out quite a lot. I mean, they are enormous. But I was thinking, what could I possibly replace them with? Well, the first thing I thought I'd try is these ogre bulls from Warhammer the Old World, and I ordered these because I got the standard bearer that I got years and years ago, but I always loved these models. Really wanted to have them in my Orc and Goblin army. Never got around to actually buying them when I was younger because my pocket money wouldn't stretch that far. So finally got them now, and they'd actually fit quite well on the cavalry base because of the way that the old models were designed. You know, they're kind of not, they don't stick out too much front to back either, to fit in the molds and all that kind of stuff, I think. I love the fact that they've redone these in metal rather than resin as well. I really like it. So they look awesome, but they are significantly smaller than the ones you get in the box. Is that a problem? Is size everything? I think the key really is not whether they're the same size as the ogres in the box or not. The key is really how they stack up against the other models that you're going to be using during the game. And you may remember from a previous video, if you've not seen it, go check it out. When I did these orcs, I rescaled them to be a bit smaller than initially, and you know, the metal ogre does look bigger and meaner than the orc, but not as big and mean as this guy. Luckily, he's got his finger pointing out, but luckily he's so tall that it does go over the orc's head. But there are going to be some models where he's going to end up interfering with them when he's next to them, and you know, you can't have your ogre lord interfering with your other enemies. That's not okay in the game. So one of the things is really trying to make this as playable as possible. So it's not just a case of replacing models for aesthetic reasons, it's also for playability. So these metal ogres, I think I'm going to keep them in Old World, really. I mean, I love them, so I'm going to use them for that, which is what they're intended for. I think they're not really quite big enough. I mean, it's possible that they'd be the right sort of size for the warrior or mercenary. So the ogre warrior and ogre mercenary are significantly smaller than the 3 big ones, and they just fit on a single 25mm base. But they have issues standing next to each other because they are, you know, quite a bit bigger than the orcs, for example, but they're trying to fit into the same volume of space on a square. With these metal ones, I think the metal ones, because they're a bit wider and they've got their arms sticking out, they're not going to sit very well. They would work nicely for those ones, but one of the other considerations I have is trying to make sure that it's clear what is an ogre mercenary and what is an ogre warrior. And these ogres just look like ogres. You can see here their feet are a bit too wide really to fit on the 25mm base. They wouldn't sort of work very well. And there are certainly occasions where some of these rooms get completely filled with enemies, and they need to all fit in together. Otherwise, you know, get into all sorts of trouble with them moving through walls and stuff like that. So no, these are supposed to go on 40mm bases, and that's what I'm going to do with them. So one thing I did want to think about was why is there such a size discrepancy between the smaller ogres and the big ones? So I got out the old monster chart to look at the various enemies that you have. You know, you've got your goblin, skeleton, zombies as your kind of baseline grunts, and you've got slightly bigger orcs and bigger abominations and mummies in terms of, you know, how big and scary they are in the game, how many attack dice they have and how many body points and stuff like that. So you'd expect perhaps the larger models to be more scary. You know, the abomination models in the box are fairly large, the dread warriors are fairly large, and so is the gargoyle, you know, because the gargoyle is the biggest and scariest enemy there. And certainly the gargoyle in the box, with his wings and his halberd, he's quite difficult to fit onto a square. So if we compare the ogres, so the ogre mercenary and the ogre warrior have got very similar stat lines. The ogre warrior has just an extra attack dice, an extra body point, but quite close to the gargoyle as well. You know, gargoyle's got a little bit better defense, body point slightly down. So I would say the ogre mercenary is fairly close to the gargoyle. The ogre warrior, very slightly stronger, but you know, similar sorts of threats, so you might expect them to be similar sorts of sizes. The ogre champion and the ogre commander are these huge models taking up 2 squares, but they're not significantly more powerful than their other counterparts. You know, you're only going up from 4 to 5 attack dice and 4 to 6 body points when you go from the mercenary to the champion. You know, the champion there and the ogre warrior, there's only a difference of 1 body point between them, and suddenly he's almost twice as big, you know, which I think seems a bit odd. I'm not sure why they decided to do that. The ogre commander is just a slight upgrade from the ogre champion, you know, an extra attack dice, extra defense dice, extra mind point, but he hasn't got a bigger brain. You know, and the ogre lord, he's got loads of body points, as you'd expect. I think the 3 big ogres kind of seem to scale quite well to one another, but the scaling between those and the smaller ogres doesn't quite make sense to me. I think that fair enough, put them on a double base because you want to do that, but kind of I'd probably have put the gargoyle on a double base if that was what I was going to do. Anyway, it just seems a bit odd, so I thought maybe 3D printing is again going to be the answer because I can rescale things. So I've gone through a bunch of options here of STL files. I put the links below, and I'd love to hear in the comments what you think of the choices, you know, whether you think these are good or not. Starting off with this Ogre Mercenary from Reptilian Overlords. I think he looks great. I really like the kind of imperial look of a mercenary ogre like this. They've got some options for how you can arm them, so you could use the same base model and with different weapon options. And there's only 2 Ogre Mercenaries in the box to replace, so you could do that very easily. But I quite like the idea of using this guy from MOM Miniatures, the champion of their Ogre Regiment. And I'm seriously thinking about getting an Ogre Regiment, making some a small Ogre army for Old World or something. But I love this guy's massive bushy moustache, looks wonderful. I think he could be quite a good sort of complementary mercenary along with the one from Reptilian Overlords. The sort of standard ogres in the regiment I think would fit on a 25mm base a little bit better because you see their feet are quite close together, so I'll keep these in mind because practically they might be better, but I think the other 2 look a bit cooler. I like the idea of having a kind of quite a different vibe to the mercenary. So going on to the warriors, these are an option for the warriors from Max Mini. They're quite similar to the metal models. I think because they're quite wide, they're not going to sit very nicely on 25mm base, so they're probably not going to be the ones that I'll choose, but they're pretty cool models, and they've got female versions of them, so you know, if you wanted to have some female ogres in amongst your male ones, it's quite a good option. But I don't think I'll use these in Heroquest. I think I might well use these guys. They look quite different. You only need 2 warriors, but I think having warriors looking like this versus the mercenaries looking kind of imperial and flamboyant will make it much easier to see who's who on the tabletop. I think the ones in the box a little bit too similar to one another, to be honest. These guys are pretty cool. A little bit chaosy with some of the horns. I think you've got options to get rid of those horns. You know, print them out without the horny bits. That would be quite good. But yeah, they're pretty cool. I think they could be resized to look nice on the 25mm base, which is what I need to be able to do. So then it's going on to the big boys. So the big boys here, this guy's Avatars of War. Avatars of War makes some really cool stuff. I've got quite a few of their models. This guy, he could be the champion or the captain, maybe even the Lord. You know, he does look very cool. Would be a very passable mercenary as well. But I think they look so brutal. I think they probably work better as the big boys. Either of these two models would work very nicely for the champion or the sort of ogre general. But this guy, the berserker, I think maybe he would be the better one for the kind of pit fighter vibe. So the ogre champion looks more like a pit fighter to me, and this guy's got the broken chains around his ankles and all that. He just looks really mean, and it would be very easy to see the difference between this dude, for example, as the kind of general of the ogre forces, and that guy as the champion, and then this guy as the overall lord. Very reminiscent of the ogre tyrant models from Games Workshop. But yeah, I think he would work really, really well, I reckon. Could be scaled nicely. He's not too sort of deep front to back, so I think he'd sit on a cavalry base quite nicely. He's not got things sticking out too much. So I think Avatars of War are probably going to be the three big boys. They look a bit different to the warriors here with the tusks, but I think we can live with that. So yeah, do let me know in the comments what you think of these choices. If you've got any other ogres that you might suggest, I'm all ears. That'd be great to hear. So the other thing in the Ogre Horde box are the archers, skeleton, goblin and orc archers. And I've already got some really cool orcs I've printed out and painted. Very happy with these. As I said earlier, scaled down a little bit from what they were because they're quite chunky, sort of 32mm scale models. Needed to come down a little bit. It's Capritor Miniatures that make these, got them through my mini factory, and I think they're just fantastic. Great blend of kind of old style and new style orcs. Look brilliant. But unfortunately he's not made any archers. Maybe one day he will. I'd love it if he did. So I was on the hunt for some orc archers that would fit a similar sort of aesthetic to these and sort of complement the regular orc infantry nicely. So the archers I looked at were from MOM Miniatures, who were one of the sculptors that designed some of the ogres I was looking at earlier. And I've got some other bits and pieces from them. They're really cool. They've got these regular archers, this command group with the champion. He looks like a really good candidate to use. But I also figured, why not have some crossbowmen? There's no reason why we couldn't have some crossbowmen as the orc archers, and they look pretty cool, you know. And again, they've got a command group. I think the champion would work well in Heroquest. Standard bearer and musician not so much, but I may well use those in the old world, because I think a unit of orc crossbowmen will look quite cool, although I've got quite a lot of archers already and they're not all that great in the game. Anyway, I like the aesthetic. They look pretty cool. They've got these big shoulder pads, they've got these sort of fur on the back. They're quite similar to the other orcs, but a little bit smaller and a bit more hunched over, and what I would imagine the archers could be. You know, got the big strong tough orcs getting stuck in with their choppers, and then the slightly weedier orcs but still fairly fierce being armed with bows, and that sort of makes sense to me. Again, these ones are quite large, so I scaled them down a little bit. You can see scaled down just enough. They're just a little bit shorter than the others, which I think feeds into that whole aesthetic of getting the slightly smaller guys up the back with the crossbows and the bows. And they fit nicely onto the bases when they're at that scale. I think it was 85% size I scaled them down to, just to make sure their feet would fit, because they've got their feet quite far apart. But again, it's just making sure that they fit on the 25mm base to make it easier to play the game. So I printed out a bunch. You can see here a selection of the ones with armed with crossbows and armed with bows. They're fairly simple. Most of them are just two pieces. You've got the bow and then the body, including the head. Some of them have got a quiver or a separate left arm as well, you know, but mostly it's just the 2 pieces to put together. And I've printed out the same flagstone base as everything else, so everything will tie together nicely. And one of the things I like is that the Ogre Horde expansion suggests that you can use these Orc Archers as a stand-in for an Orc infantry model in any quest. You don't have to wait to get to the Ogre quests first. And I think that's really cool, because the players have been getting quite powerful and doing really well, and just occasionally dropping in an archer just to mess with them, I think that'd be quite fun. And I reckon my daughter could do with the challenge, couldn't you? Think it'd be fun to have some Orc Archers to fight against? You have to say it out loud.
No.
No, I think it would be fun. So we'll do that. So anyway, I hope you enjoy that. I've got some ideas for the skeleton archers as well, but I haven't started printing out skeletons yet because I've had some issues with brittle resin breaking that you might have seen in some other videos, which is a bit annoying, so I need to have a little bit of a play with ABS like resin first, I think, see if I can get them done, because skeletons have got lots of brittle bits. So I can print out skeleton warriors and skeleton archers as well. And then we're getting there on having a really good set of miniatures. I've got the other expansions to look at, but yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. If you've got any suggestions for replacements for any of these models that I've been suggesting here, that would be great. And well, hopefully see you on the next one. Like and subscribe, and see you soon. Cheers. Bye.